We are back. Thank you for bearing with us. I tried a new function that is on OBS, and it is not functional. It caused the whole thing to crash. But it's okay, because you all didn't miss anything. So there are some different tools and tricks you all have. None of them, obviously, are just this, like, slam dunk, automatically get you right into Baal Vonder's bedroom where he's sleeping, and you just cut off his head in his sleep. But there are things that you could maybe utilize situationally to give you some edges. The general plan that I'm hearing is you're going to come by night, you're going to be on foot, and you're going to be kind of carefully picking your way through the hills, looking for a secret entrance into Vattenhold.
Now, that being said, if we know more about those constructs, and if we can take them out without setting off an alarm, we could actually clear the constructs covertly before we go in. So we have an exit and an entrance, that we
this
can
is
use.
true. Although, I think
that
Aygir,
relies on more info.
even though he's going to study them, I think his vote still is probably for it being more useful to just evade their detection than have to take them out. But also,
they could be inside.
Finish the last thought that I had, now that we're back on camera, is that Aygir and Corgain have maybe worked out a thing where if the situation demands it, it could be something where Aygir and Corgain look like each other because Corgain has used change shape to look like Aygir, who has cast mirror image on himself. So it looks like there are 5 people who all look the same, and two of them are real.
Yeah.
Instead of the traditional one.
Only problem is he would not move exactly like you move.
Sure, but it could be close enough to fool.
It might fool them before they are like, wait a second, those 6 are moving the exact same way. Or those 4, yeah. I forgot how mirror image works in this.
You get 3 misty duplicates.
Yeah. So, here's the thing. We have a bunch of disguises, some invisibility. We're gonna try and keep stealth as long as we can. Some point, when we're inside, we need to take a prisoner or get more information, because let's say there's no one around, we could just keep wandering, but we need to know where his lair, his sanctum is inside. So we need, ideally, in my opinion, to take someone captive. And I have a spell charm person, which could force them to, tell us things, but it would certainly compel them to perhaps give up things if I phrase things, carefully.
And this is something that Walykos should have his primary priority to be, since he's the one who's going to know where the other people are that were like him, that are the attempts at making a new Night Stalker or something like that. So he can know what kind of person we actually want to find. He's probably one of them who would know.
Or a Thrate. Like, honestly, a Thrate would have a lot of info. Or one of the lieutenants.
Yeah, if we can find one that's unattended and easy to capture.
Yeah, there's a lot going into that. All I can offer is my charming ability. But if you guys have any other better ways of extracting information, detect thoughts, anything like that, please speak up. Nope. Okay.
House Mantevale is able to contribute 2 scrolls of Detect Thoughts.
Fantastic. Those could be very useful, because how it works is there's no save for surface thoughts. We could literally just, if we find someone who's not been trained to, not think about a question, we can simply ask them, what route do you take, to do this or that, and they'll immediately think of it before they think, oh, I can't tell them this, And it's a very good interrogation method, I should say.
Vapor can cast that spell, but does not have it.
The scrolls to Vapor, write them down. 2 scrolls.
I'm just letting you know. So
One
No, these are
One potential tactic that could be effective is for Vapor to cast the detect thoughts, and then Walykos or perhaps Aygir, you use the invisibility scroll to make him invisible.
Ah, so they don't even know that
He could
he's
be
cast it.
Yes, he could be afoot, mentally listening in.
How long does detect thoughts last, though?
Give me 1
Is it
second.
a
I can tell you
minute?
right now.
10, 1,
Up to a minute concentration.
up to 1 minute.
It's a minute. Yeah, that's pretty short duration, unfortunately.
Well, the invisibility will last for 1 hour, so that could be
Correct.
done in advance, well in advance.
No, but you see, if he casts the detect thoughts, the invisibility fades.
Oh my, that is true. It is not the caster; it
It-
is the one who
it
is
is okay.
invisible. Yes.
Yeah, I appreciate the suggestion, though. It was a good thought. I was thinking, leave the room, do that, and come back and make it look like we're, well, he's focusing on reading his thoughts. I'm questioning him. Yeah, I don't know. It's
Why
there's
don't we
ways to
have
use it.
Aygir check with either Connor Spindle or the Dross
Yeah.
guards regarding those constructs.
Is
because
there
that
not enough
will-
time for both?
Which one would you go to first?
Just give us one.
For immediate information about the constructs that Bale Wanderer has, it would be the Dross guards. He wants to talk to Connor Spindle all the time, but they would know more about this particular case.
Okay, so you excuse yourself, and they have a Nycus on hand, and you write it with the swiftness and go to the crumble and enter the secret entrance that you know there, down into the arcane sanctum. That is a layer of yours, of your parties. And there, the Dross guards are... Well, they're going through a pretty long process of repairing themselves is the main thing that they're working on, because they were in very bad condition. Aygir, Magus, hello.
Time has come to call upon you once more. There are things you might know, and as you know, you are here but for the grace of me. So, it has been some time since you were in the direct service.
We will never forget this.
It's been some time since you were in the direct service of the giant basin. But I'm thinking maybe you can tell me a thing or two. There are mechanical birds, well, back up above where we found you. There were things like dragons, but made of metal with crystals inside of them that had the souls of some beings or some such. How do these things actually work? What are their inner workings? What are they able to do? Are ones that look like hawks able to give their controller their own sight, or do they have to report back? Are they capable of any sort of combat, or are they just eyes in the sky?
I can speak to this, says one of the Dross guard. We dwelt underground and never saw the birds take flight, but I was there when the first of the birds were being constructed. They were built from an earlier model, which was not a bird, but rather looked something like a small, skittering insect or arachnid, mobile and able to maintain sounds that it had heard, and then re-emit them for the master.
So in other words, it does actually have to report back. It's not a camera drone.
It does not speak, though it would understand the master's spoken words.
And its master cannot see.
It would only emit sounds which it had heard. This could
its
be
master
used,
cannot
though,
see
for pieces of conversation or voices.
I see. Its master cannot see through its own eyes, then. It may only talk to its master in words it has heard.
I am unaware that the master is able to do that. It is a small and simple thing. Cheap to produce, requiring very small amounts of components.
Are these constructs still made, or are there finite numbers of them produced in an earlier time before Barnacle, or Ayrburg, as you
They're
call
that
it,
cheap
fell?
to make. Yeah.
I cannot speak to the present day. We have been locked away for a great amount of time. But as long as I can remember, the Balin were able to produce these. In fact, oftentimes it were not even the Balin that would make them. It were others that were skilled in artifice. You would not find it a particularly dangerous foe, considering the abilities that you and your comrades possess. I would not consider it any more difficult to fight than the most basic of grunt orc warriors.
That is well and good, but if you wish to avoid a fight, how can you evade their sight?
Well, they are crafted to not allow you to evade their sight. That is specifically why they were given wings and brought to the surface.
Do they have some sort of enhanced vision which is greater than that of, say, you or I?
Yes, it is better than you. It is better than yours. Not the Drossguards. I would say it is the equal of the Drossguards. We see farther than an elf does. We see farther than an elf or a goblin does in the darkness, and we have keen vision.
That's useful info.
You cannot see through rocks. You cannot see that far in the dark.
No, that is true.
You cannot see movement or light that is not visible.
Yes, there are limitations once you get into realms of extraordinary gifts, but as a hawk, as I understand them to be, would see keenly, and as perhaps an owl might see well in the dim and even the depths of dark night, so would this forge-wrought raptor.
So out of character, what's going through Aygir's head is thinking about how, I guess if we're going to evade them, we need to scry on them and make sure we know like a pattern they fly in so we can physically go by when they're not flying by, or
if it is
because we're not going to
night,
be able to turn
as long as you have enough
yet.
distance, it's practically impossible to see somebody.
Okay.
I checked on the moon phase, by the way, and you're at sort of like a half moon.
Nice. Is it waxing or waning?
It is currently waxing.
So it'll get brighter as time goes by.
Yeah, so by the time we get there, it'll be a little bit brighter than it is now.
Well, that depends on when we get there, doesn't it?
I mean, if we go really quickly, then yeah, it won't.
It won't matter, but if we're not going there right off.
The other thing you described, the four-legged one. I can only speculate, and I would not trust my speculations. I do not know exactly what this one is.
So it is newer.
It clearly is newer, and the type of beast that it represents is not a beast that I know of.
Well, so they are for combat then.
Ask about the soul crystals.
He's getting into that. And these crystals that hold souls, is there a way to release the soul? How is the soul put there in the first place? I assume it is not just snipped out of its own with a pair of gardening shears and then jammed in and a little cork popped into the crystal. How is this done? And is there a way that it may be undone?
There is an arcane ritual that binds the soul to the crystal. Doing so slays the person, their body at least. They are essentially a spiritual prisoner within the construct. Dwarves, orcs, elves.
So Balefond can have as many of these constructs as he has willing victims to be slain, which it's safe to assume there are
Willing
many.
or unwilling.
Well, yes,
And
yes,
raw
yes.
materials, though his resources are vast and deep. Still, I would not expect an army composed entirely of constructs. Even for one with vast resources, that would be immensely costly. It is still going to be more efficient to have traditional soldiers.
Is there a way to disarm or disrupt this soul crystal without physically touching it?
Without physically touching it, of course. One could affect it with magic.
Such as?
Well, I suppose we're going to have to speculate once more. But imagine
You are
one
some
with-
sort of expert on how these things are made. You've seen it done. You can tell me how those have been.
I
affected
imagine
before.
that
I'm
with
sure
a
you've
minor
witnessed.
construct, it would be possible to remove one of its plates to have access or view of the crystal, and some sort of abjuration could force the soul out of it. That would cease all power to the construct. It would be no more than a metal sculpture at that point.
But the more sophisticated ones are designed so that that is not possible. You're saying.
Well, of course, it is generally within anyone's personal interest, construct or otherwise, to prevent others from opening up your plating.
Are you yourself and your kind powered by these?
We are not.
Then why use them at all when he is capable of building things that are themselves sentient?
We were not made
Cost.
by Belvander or his comrades.
Mm.
We were
Who
made
made you
by
then?
we were made by a different Balin, one who used a different variety of magic. That ended up being his downfall.
This was Endor or Andikar?
No, a prior generation.
Interesting. So you've been down here that long.
Hmm.
Well,
It has been very long.
so yeah, I mean, out of character again. Really, the best way to get past the constructs is just to not be seen by them in the first place. If
Or
we have to-
destroy them.
Yeah, but like going out of our way to destroy them might end up getting us seen in a place
Oh.
where we don't want to be.
I don't disagree, but as soon as one sees us,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
only
yeah.
option is to destroy it.
Exactly. Yes,
If you are
one does see
spotted
us,
by
then yes.
one of the metal avians, it would be best to dispatch of it quickly before it can fly back to the giants.
Yep.
Right. Right.
Which,
If you wish to not be discovered in your destruction of it, it would be best not to fling bolts of fire or claps of magical sonic
Correct.
at it.
Okay. Well, so
Yeah.
he thanks the
Shoot it
various
with an
cross
arrow,
guards for
a
their
crossbow
time.
bolt, or have some other sort of projectile
Magic.
attack.
yeah.
Yeah, he thanks the various cross guards for their time, and that I guess is the most important.
You will
thing
be
we need to know is
unable
just
to
that.
burn it or poison it.
Good to know.
That's good to know. Yeah.
Otherwise, your attacks should function readily.
Makes sense. Fire giants make their things to resist lava, fire. Yeah.
Which Aygir's own main ranged weapon is lightning damage, so he feels fine about that. And
That would
will
function,
return.
though it would cause a tremendous flash of light seen from a great distance.
So, here's the thing. Avoid the birds using, I think, nightfall, because at
Yeah.
night they're limited. They would have to fly
Right.
pretty low,
Right.
and the lower you go, the less you can aerial view. So even if they are flying low at night, which let's assume they are, we can then project which direction they're going
Right.
and just wait for them to pass certain ways and then
Exactly.
cross the
Yeah.
perimeter.
Yep.
A small group by night, that is about the stealthiest approach you can really hope for, barring some kind of high-level, powerful magic.
Yep. So we have that. We have our way in. We avoid the things on land.
Okay, do you go to Spindle?
Okay.
I mean, he would want to, but I don't know how much time there is. also, like, as a player,
You
we
have
could-
time, but
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
and
we
as a
have
player,
more
we
to
could do
discuss.
someone else's thing before that too.
okay.
What I suggest do the spindle thing now. I mean, literally, that
Okay.
conversation took that length
Get
of
it out.
time that we just spoke. You've got a Nikos, and so you can
Okay.
run that thing to the broken tower. It's just
Sure.
like 2 districts over.
Okay.
And I'm not sweating for time. We need to do these things. Let's get it done.
Yeah, Aygir's gonna be gone for hour and a half.
Yep.
Okay, so you make your way to the broken tower. You get in and you get up to speak with Canis. He's still got his arm in a sling and like bandaged up from where it got broken, and he looks pretty grumpy. The tedium is grating upon me, Aygir. I cannot work with this damn busted arm.
Well, then it's a good thing I brought some excitement today. Who is your greatest enemy? I don't mean just you, but your kind. Who is your greatest living enemy?
Well, you've caught me off guard. There are a number of names that I could mention.
And the first off your tongue would be...
Well, clearly it would be the living Bale.
Ah. So that was an easy guess. So, suppose there were to be an attempt to change that fact. You called him the living Bale? What if he were to become the dead Bale? Or at least someone would try to do that.
Well, I would smoke to that.
Well, this is not the last time that we talk, but may it be that there's just such a thing happening, and that's why I'm here. I've learned what I could from other sources, but from you, I just wonder if there's anything else you could render unto us that would help us do this. I don't suppose you've had some plans in the works for this whole time, these long decades since the capture of Barnacle, for taking down the Bale yourself, or with a group.
I can't say that I have such a plan, no. If you're calling upon me to dust off my old sword, well, that may be a poor choice of battle companion. But you have it in you that you're going to do what exactly?
Oh, I do not mean you yourself accompany us, but that, well, the Vanguard, we are going to go, and should there remain life in us long enough to do so, slay Balefonder once and for all.
We go where?
To his lair.
To his lair. Who else is
Yes,
going with the Vanguard?
The whole Vanguard. It is those of us you have met, and the little one you might know a thing about, and that other elf that we sometimes consort with. You know, the one with the white hair.
Just the Vanguard?
The enhanced Vanguard. There's also a knight among us now, Derek Mantevale.
Eric Mandevale. Oh, yes. He is a good swordsman. But, Aygir, this is a giant's stronghold. It is fortified. It layers of fortification. And the masses of soldiers that are present. I know that you all have earned your glory in your titles and become great warriors and mages. But this might be overly ambitious. You should go once the fighting has cleared here in Barnacle, and the host from Grootvarus has been driven off. Then the military might of the land can descend upon Baelvander's castle.
That would be well and good, yes. In an ideal world, that would be better than what we are going to do. I don't doubt you on that. But we don't have the time for that. There are too many things in motion. There are too many other forces. There are orcs to the west. There are other
There are always orcs
attacks
to the
coming.
west. That's not
Not
news.
like these. These are organized. Balefonder is stirring them up into a specific and targeted plan to take over things over there. There are forces, additional forces, I believe, from Broodwaters that are planning to attack the north of the island. The one we have tied up is only tied up for some time. There will be a battle here in Barnacle, and that is why we are going there. We need to cut the head off this snake before it can bite us. We know about the army. We know about his orcs. We know about his mechanical beasts and birds that he has flying around. We have devised perhaps ways to get past that, but we need to know anything else you might know about how to get past his defenses, or anything you might have about a weapon that could aid us in slaying him.
I think we've already had this conversation before, or perhaps this is just a smoke-addled dream that I had. A weapon. Weapon? Oh, Aygir, I think your weapons are better than what dusty relics I have here. This all seems foolish and brash.
Aygir remembers the Duke specifically asked him some things to get back with.
Yeah, well, he has the main information he needs about that, and has brought them up to Spindle. Though he will put in there a little extra bit about, and these constructs we need to get past. They help him see things. Do you have information about them? You fought them before, right?
Could you describe it in a bit more detail for me?
He does that, yeah. He describes the flying ones and the four-legged ones.
Something seems familiar about that. Let me take a look. And he, walks over with his brace, one braced arm and braced legs, and his other arm slinged, and takes a couple of volumes off of a bookcase. I think it was this. Ah, yes. Huh. Odd that. I have the page marked. Huh. Does it resemble this here? He shows you an entry in a book of Artifice that you're not sure if he himself has penned this or this was done by a different artificer. But the page that he is on does indeed show a four-legged kind of clockwork creature, though the eyes are emphasized such that the eyes look to be glowing. It has a snout with metal fangs, medium size. Looks pretty similar to what you saw in the scrying.
Well,
Okay,
look at
yes.
what do you know about that?
Let's see. The Iron Defenders. They are more powerful than perhaps a standard Ogong, but certainly not something that you would be imperiled by to any great degree. They are rather keen of sense, hearing and seeing, much like a predator beast might be able to. They grab hold of you upon biting. He mumbles, putting an old, one of his old fingers line for line. It is telepathically bonded with its master. And it is an intelligent thing. Not as intelligent as a typical elf, but not far shy of it. As long as it is active, it could speak telepathically with Vonda at will.
So if that were to see you, he would see you.
Well, telepathic communication, verbal. It could relay, if it were to spot you, it could relay that information to Vonder. Perhaps it's bonded to someone else other than Vonder.
So there's no way to...
This is something that you, if you wish to remain unnoticed and not alerting their forces, do not be spotted by it, or destroy it before it sees you.
So there is no way then to silence it before it could communicate.
It is not a matter of speaking aloud, Aygir. It is
Of
telepathic. It is strictly
Of
mental.
course. Well, it's good to know.
Yes. Worrisome things like this is why I call this brash. But, well...
And I suppose it is, but there is no more time to not do this, if that makes any sort of sense.
I know that I will be very much praying for the return of the Vanguard. Alive and hale.
Well, let us hope that is true. And then that's
So-
all that needs to happen there, really.
Bale
I
Vonder
would
gives you
just-
his best wishes and his blessing. And
Belvander?
Canis Spindle, who wants to see
Oh, it's
the
a Bale-
defeat of... Who wants to see the defeat of Bale Vonder.
Too late,
Let's see who you are.
Belvander wished us the
Let's see who
best.
you really are, Canis Spindle. It was me the whole time.
I knew it. I knew it all along.
So,
When I was mean to you, I meant it.
yeah, Canis Spindle gives you his best wishes and his blessing, and very much hopes for the defeat of Bale Vonder and for the return victorious of the Vanguard. Though he thinks an attack of this nature is
Well, that's...
overly risky. Though, as Aygir tried to allude to, Canis Spindle does not have full knowledge of the big picture of this whole scenario in Haven Isle.
especially the goddess helping us. That's kind of a big deal. So, hey, there's one question that I didn't hear answered, and I don't know if you mind me asking it. If a construct dies, does the master instantly know it's dead, even if it didn't get a message off? Because then the only way to be stealthy
Okay,
is to
so let's say Aygir essentially
It
asked
sounded
that.
like he said that was the case.
Yeah,
but
so let's say Aygir essentially asked that in these conversations. There is not an alert that happens.
Okay.
But
if he tries to send a telepathic message,
yeah, if Vonder was, or
he'll know
whoever
that
is
it's-
bonded with it, would try to send a
Yeah.
message, would be like, that thing is not functional.
yeah,
that
it's
would-
like, oh, my telepathy doesn't even connect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, then the only real way to not set them off is to avoid them. Yeah. Animals will be helpful in noting their locations. Cool. Back at the War Council?
Aygir returns and relays this newly gained knowledge about the birds and what should we call them? The Iron Defenders. Yeah, the birds and the Iron Defenders.
I think we're good on. We now know what to look out for with those. That's very important. The birds, if they don't see us, and even if they do see us, we have a chance to take them out. This Iron Defenders, if one of them spots us, that's pretty much we should assume that we're going loud. Because it's almost impossible to. If we spot it first, we should just avoid it. We shouldn't try and take it out, because even if we succeed, in odds are, as soon as they try to check in with it, they'll know something's up.
At the very
So-
least, you can assume someone would go to its location to check on it and
Check
why
on it
is
to see what
telepathy
happened.
not working, right?
Which still leads us back to just, avoid them before having to fight them. And if we have to fight them, they can be beaten, but that any fight is a risk of being seen.
Mm-hmm.
So, are we now to speak about Avasira's magical gifts that she
That's
will
what it sounds
bestow
like.
upon the party?
I think I can try to summarize these with a couple plans I've come up with. Avasira, she is immensely powerful. She essentially can cast any cleric level spell up to 7th level, though she has limited slots, obviously. And she can sort of dimension door herself. She can celestial jaunt 100 feet to an unoccupied space that she can see. So it's not as good as dimension door, but it is a powerful teleportation nonetheless. And she can shift between the ethereal border, the ethereal plane, and back to the material plane as an action at will. Her physical abilities, that's not what she's really contributing. Her spell casting is. What I've come up with using the limitations on her spellcasting and the not limitations, honestly, that's what's really powerful, is that she can, before we go, if we take a couple days time, I've sent Esper the exact details of this.
I know you sent a message, but I was in conversation and prep, so was not able to read it. I can read it now if that is necessary.
I wouldn't read it verbatim. It's kind of like the breakdown. Let me just summarize it for everyone.
Okay.
Through a series of spells, Avasira upcasts Glyph of Warding as a 7th level spell. She puts a spell in the Glyph of Warding, which is a 6th level Summon Celestial spell. 5th level spell upcast to 6th level. This summons a celestial spirit basically for the whole duration, and the Glyph of Warding makes it last for the whole hour. We could just put these into items, I suppose, and bring them with us and just trigger them and pop these things out, but I don't know about that. I think this is the better way to do it. We make a magic circle or whatever we need, and we pop the trigger, basically summoning the Celestial inside the magic circle. Planar Binding is a 5th level spell, and she could upcast it to 7th level. When the thing is summoned, she casts Planar Binding. Basically, it takes an hour to cast that spell, which is the duration of the summoned creature. As soon as it completes, the creature makes a charisma save. If it succeeds on the charisma save, the duration of the summoning ends and it disappears. If it fails the save, the duration of the summon is set to the duration of Planar Binding, which upcast to level 7 is 30 days. And it now is basically bound to Avasira. No concentration needed. I would love to do this with higher level things, but she only has so many spell slots. The only thing that she has 2 spell slots of are 6th level and below. And to cast Glyph of Warding, you need to have another slot of the same level that you're basically upcasting it to. So we could, with this spell, basically over a couple days, create a bunch of celestial summons that will last for a whole month that will come with us. If you look at Summon Celestial, it's a pretty good spell. They're not the best, but at this level they would have 3 attacks. They would have armor class 17 if they are the Avenger mod, or 19 if they're the Defender mod. And I think we should mix it up and get a little bit of both. The Avenger gets a bow, 150/600, which does 2d6 plus 8 radiant damage on hit. And the Defender gets a mace, 1d10 plus 9 damage, and whatever it hits, it can choose itself or another creature within 10 feet to gain a d10 temp HP. And then once per day, and these will be around for more than one day, they can touch a creature and heal them for 2d8 plus 6. They're a large size, so that's a concern. Fly of 40 feet, walk of 30, 50 HP, resistant to radiant damage, dark vision 60 feet. So these are basically shock troops. If we make these, we can have like 3 Avengers, 3 Defenders, and they will be muscle if we get in, to the thick of things. And for a whole month duration, we're not worried about duration. I would thematically say, Avacera would say she could call upon these and then bind them to our plane so they would be here for a month's time. Assuming they agree. She would be negotiating. The charisma check wouldn't be a forcing her will on them. It would be a negotiating their service, is how I would view that charisma saving throw. She would be convincing them the just cause, to fight against Balebonder. This is an opportunity.
How quickly can they be summoned? And
one per day, basically. So with this combination, she has 1 slot per day, which will go into basically preparing a glyph every single day. Okay, actually, let's see. So she has to prepare the glyph.
Okay, so it's not a case.
So every
where...
2 days. Yeah, every 2 days we could have that. Alternatively,
but we can't pop them out when we're already in the lair. They need to come with us to there.
If we do that method, she could set up a bunch of glyphs and put them on like parchment or like books inside of books.
Oh.
Yeah. Glyph awarding is insane. It lasts until dispelled or triggered.
Because it would be better, like if we're gonna have these guys, it would be better to have them than not have them. But also, it would make us harder to sneak if we had them all already.
The problem with the glyph, using it just from the glyph without the planar binding, is those last for 1 hour, and I think they are bound. Let's see, the glyph summons hostile creatures. Basically, attacks intruders or attack. It's meant to basically sort of ward an area if it's used in the glyph. Although it is summoned, so it does whatever it's meant to do when it's summoned. That being said, the binding lasts for a whole month. We have time to prepare this. There's no reason we can't churn out a week worth of these if we want to take that time, and that's like 6 of these things, or 7 potentially.
Do they
and
glow?
Then,
do they glow, or are they like easy to see at night?
No, they are large size, so that does affect it a little bit. But according to this, celestial spirit, angelic form, and unoccupied space they can see. Doesn't describe them. I would assume they look like angels with feathery white wings.
Okay, just since this increases our group size, it does make us a little bit less stealthy inherently. But these are going to be useful to have, so we want to have them. I guess we'll just need to...
So here's the thing. Normally, we couldn't do this tactic because it costs a lot of gold.
Right.
She has the ability to ignore the material components.
Okay.
So she could, given enough time, create a little force of things. I'm not saying we take 30 of them or a huge amount of them. I'm saying we take like 3 and 3 is kind of my ideal. Like 3 defenders, 3 avengers, and we use them as a brute squad for when the fighting starts.
All right, so we'll just have to, I guess, which we were probably going to do anyway, just move slowly to actually get there, and then quickly once we get in, and prioritize not being seen.
Alternatively, we could use. Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, having them along is just super useful.
It is.
I can't really think of any way to clearly disguise them unless we have some magic.
Well, she's a goddess. She can't turn them invisible.
That's not a cleric spell, but she does. So here's the thing about the spell slot day of. All these things that I'm doing are spell slots that are used the day before, and they last the whole time. Here's a few other things that you can do the day before. Hero's Feast. It is a spell exactly for this purpose, 24 hours.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Hero's Feast will do, it's a 6th level spell. We'll do it before we rest for the day. 10-minute cast time. We have to spend 1 hour consuming the feast. Up to 12 creatures can partake. That's all of us, plus all of our NPCs, plus even the angels, in theory, if we have 6 of them. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ignore Avacera. You each have 1 NPC, right?
Including 6 of them, it's 13. We're 13 total.
We'll leave out the angel, 1 angel or something.
Yeah, Avacera doesn't count. That means it's 7 of us and then 6 of them.
Perfect. So as many creatures partake this feast, you're immune to poison, which with traps and things, I could see them using poison quite a bit. You're immune to being frightened. That's another nasty effect that will come up, I have no doubt. You make all wisdom saving throws with advantage. That's pretty big. And our hit point maximum increases by 2d10, and you gain the same number of hit points. Now, my understanding is that stacks with aid, which is my next way of using one of her spell slots the day before. She could cast aid at a highest level and give 3 of us. Let's see, aid I think is 5, and then it goes up by 5 every slot level, so that's 35 hit points extra to 3 of us. And she'll cast it by rest casting, which I've already explained off screen to Esper how rest casting works. Basically, for the first 8 hours of the day, all of you will have plus 35 real hit points, I guess. They're not temporary, which is very useful.
Yep, it's a maximum hit point increase.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to spend 2 or 3 days in prep?
I think it will take a week to set up 6 of them.
It'll take
because
a week. Oh, okay.
To get 6 of them. Now, we could go sooner with less of them.
Mm-hmm.
But that really comes down to how many of these do we want and how much time do we think we have. Because we're the initiators on this. We choose when to pull the trigger. So what do you guys think about this? Because once they're summoned, the duration is effectively infinite for the duration of how long we need them.
I would say there is a general sense that if you wait a week, that will change
things.
The scenario of things.
Yeah, especially
as you
with
know,
the
orcs
divination.
are mustering to Vonder.
Well, I mean, we'd be ready to go at the end of the week, but I get what you're saying. If we spend 3 days and we
put
get
things into full moon as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so
half moon 1 week would it be
Probably.
like 3/4 the moon, I think. But anyways.
No, it would be about a full moon.
Okay. Anyways,
So real with the summoning thing, I kind of see where you're coming with. Let's bring them along now.
mm-hmm.
But at the same time, they do increase the chance of us being seen. And we could put them in a glyph of warding and summon them from the glyph when we're fighting Vondor.
The problem with that is they're less. It still takes the same amount of time to put them in the glyph. The day taken to make them last for 30 days is huge because they won't just go away after an hour. They will be with us the entire battle.
Yeah, I
Vondor.
understand that, but I'm figuring if we have them just for the Bale fight, it guarantees us the win there. But if we get spotted because we now have a bigger group,
hell, if we just need them for the Bale fight, like I could prepare more of them than that. The main thing is the upcasting them to 6th level. Like she can. Here's the thing. She has all of her spell slots the day of. These are things that I'm preparing ahead of time and bringing with us sort of pre-prepped. I would rather have them pre-prepped and already out than spend her spell slots, in her preparation the day of.
No, I'm not saying do it day of. I'm saying on the prep, instead of bringing these extra guys out in the open, let's do that prep, put them in the Glyph of Warding, and then either summon them when we're inside and mad rush straight to Baal, or save them till we get to Baal and then use them then. Because I think if we have them out, we're not stealthing through that base. We're going to be fighting.
Well,
But if we have them in the Glyph of Warding, we can stealth through the base a lot better because we're not toting around 6 angels.
I see what you're saying. It really comes down to how much are we committing, because if we get in there and our plan falls apart, having those 6 angels are going to be way more helpful than having them for 1 hour when we
I
are trying to find our way through.
Okay, so if we're going in and we realize we're not going to get to Baal, we can drop the glyphs there, some of them use them as cover to get out.
Why don't we think about, is there another way to get them in once they're already summoned that still qualifies our stealth plan?
That makes more sense, yeah.
Yeah. If there's a way to do that, because then the main thing about preparing the glyphs is we can't control them if they're in glyph form. Giving the planner binding gives us control over them again. The glyph is what summons them, and they basically perform whatever you told them when you put them in the glyph. Protect this thing, attack anyone, that is of this race. Like you basically program it, and then the glyph pops them out.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So, what level of spell slot are you thinking for the summon celestial?
6th level.
6th level, okay.
Which
binding is a 5th, could go up to the 7th to give you the 30.
Correct.
Day.
And that's exactly what you're doing using the 7th.
So if you cast summon celestial at 6th level, if Galvasir casts at 6th level, that's an hour concentration, and it takes an hour to cast planar binding.
Yes.
So
the glyph of warding is how you get around this. You use the glyph of warding.
I don't think you need to get around it, because I don't think you have to be concentrating on planar binding while you're casting it. It's not a concentration.
Yes, you
spell.
do. Because it takes 1 hour to cast. You need your concentration while you're casting it.
Oh, is that how? I don't know. How that works?
Every round, you can't interrupt your casting of it, so it takes your concentration while you're casting a spell that takes more than 1 round. You can look that up. Yeah. That's the whole reason why you need Glyph of Warding or someone else to cast the summoning spell.
Let me check one other spell.
Another thing, I can summon Fae myself. I can summon a bunch of Fae, and she could just planner bind the Fae. But they are way weaker than the 5th level spell.
Yeah, that might be better just say for like in the moment summoning.
Correct. That's my plan.
So I might propose a simpler solution. It wouldn't be like 6 of these angels, but it would get you there much faster than having to wait a week, and without doing this kind of like combo chain thing, which seems a little...
The combo chain works.
It does work, but it seems like it's this workaround that a player character... Not a workaround, like this combo that a player character would use. I don't think she would need to do that. I think she could probably just call in a couple angels the day before, and they'll last for whatever enough a few days while you're at the stronghold.
So what is your proposal for that? Because
I would say you could do 2 of the celestials, like as if you did a 6th level summon celestial. You could have them. You could have them with you, and they're like bound in service for. It doesn't really matter because it'll be the whole time that you're
and
at the
these
dungeon.
don't use up her spell slots. They're kind
she would
of
have
like
used it. She would have used it like
before.
the day before or 2 days before. You could have it that way, or you could have whatever parchments, like celestial parchments, with them in glyph form. Either way, you could have it. If
so
you want
wait a
them
second.
To be like actual party members, or if you want them to be like what Vapor said, where it's like, haha, you didn't know we had these allies with us. Poof, summon for the fight.
So question about that one: would those last the couple days if they're in the parchment form?
No, it'd be like the 1 hour.
So that's just the
glyph
regular
of warding.
glyph of warding. Okay.
But they
Yeah,
wouldn't
that's
be
always-
with you during the stealth section, and it'd be like
Yeah.
this ace up your sleeve thing where suddenly you have more allies in an important fight.
Well, she could easily prepare like glyph versions and
Yeah.
also have them with us. I just,
She'll have her spell slot, so she can always just cast summon Celestial. Yeah.
which is what I think is the problem with that is it takes her concentration, and I think that's
Mhm.
less valuable than what she could be doing with
Okay.
other things.
Fair enough.
By planar binding them, they don't need concentration.
So how about that? So there's
I
just
threw
2
this
days
out.
of preparation instead of a week.
Okay.
Because if you wait a week, I think the amount of danger at the stronghold will have increased to where having those extra allies kind of doesn't matter as much. It works out to not really matter anymore.
Because he
Okay.
is gathering an increasing army of orcs. It's getting bigger and
Yeah,
bigger
orcs are
again.
like sweeping across from west to
didn't-
east, mustering.
I didn't have that information when I was making the plan, but that's fine. 2 days, 2 of them. We can have either 2 Avengers or an Avenger and a Defender.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think we should have an Avenger ranged attacks. Through
Mhm.
ranged attacks is pretty big deal. And the healing touches are pretty good, as well as the temporary hit points that the Defender can dish out.
Given the nature of this, yeah, I kind of feel like we need to be geared towards hitting harder.
Mhm.
And because, I mean, obviously we want to survive, but we want to ensure that Bale Wander is dead more so than anything else. So
Yeah.
we almost
Okay.
want to prioritize offense.
Do
over
2
defense.
Avengers. That'll maximize the offense of the Angels, and you don't have to worry about 2 different stat blocks.
Cool. 2 Avengers then. Cool. We'll have that. Heroes Feast day before. Aid day before. I can put lesser spell slot aids the day before as well.
Mhm.
And when I say the day before, we can shift when we long rest. So like we can rest midday so that it's nightfall when our spell slots are renewed. You know what I mean? In preparation for this, since we know we're going at night. So there's one other thing I'm trying to think of. The day of, I was actually going to just have her, when we're inside, at some point, use her 7th level slot to conjure Celestial, which is different than summon. That
Sure.
actually summons the Coatl, which is a immensely powerful, even though it's
Mhm.
CR4, it
Has a
has
lot of
so many
magic.
spells. It can greater restoration once per day.
Mm.
And it has multiple healing. It has 3 per day cure wounds, things like that. But I would save that for when we think we're about to get into a big battle. It
Right.
lasts for
Mhm.
1 hour, but it does take your concentration.
Mhm.
It does take 1 minute to cast, though,
Right.
so we need to know what we're about to do and not be in the thick of fighting when she does it. Other than that, let's see. I wrote down some other things. Just double checking. I think that's pretty much the gist of it. She has some other really useful spells, but they're kind of like on the day of things that she'll do. Heal spells, obviously, she can throw a couple heals around. I think 1 heal. Actually, yeah, she has the 1 spell slot. Yep. Cool.
All right, so you're going to have 2 Angels of
Yeah.
Vengeance with you that are planar bound in service for, we'll just say 30 days is fine. And
it won't last that long. She'll
you'll
release
have
them after.
the night before have eaten a hero's feast,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody's getting an aid spell, or maybe multiple people are
Three
getting an aid spell.
3 people. The aid spell affects up to 3 people, I believe, per casting. So she can cast it with as many slots that she has of high level left over that day.
Oh, sure.
So
Yeah, it is 3.
so
Okay.
basically there'll be a 7th level aid, which will be the 35 points to. I was thinking Vapor would benefit from having more hit points since he's kind of squishy, and we don't want him to just get knocked out.
Makes sense.
Um,
I
Nick
would
can
actually,
really use them a lot, and he doubles them basically when he rages.
they'll get more mileage with his rage resistance,
And-
damage resistance.
I was thinking also myself or one of the NPCs. If we,
maybe
you guys know your
Manta Veil?
NPCs. Who's the most effective?
Well, Manta Veil is like a frontline, sword
Yeah.
fighter.
I would guess either him or
Arachno, maybe
Arachno's
only because of
kinda-
how squishy he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, though Arachno's not necessarily a melee guy, and he
Yeah,
does,
he's
roguish.
definitely in range, but I'm just saying he's got less than I do.
That being said, there are more aid spell slots to go around. Everyone
Okay.
can have hit points.
Yeah, it's
You're
not
just
a
going to have like
concentration.
it's going to be something like the others will get 25 hit points max rather than the
Right.
35.
Well, and we're getting some from Hero's Feast, right?
2d10, but they stack.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So-
Well, so at a minimum, though, if we can't put 8 on everybody,
Yeah.
Why
everybody's
don't,
getting
why
something.
don't we set up the hit point situation now?
Let's do it right now.
Yeah, so
Yep.
that way this is not something we're putting off. So I think first, just for each character, roll 2d10 and bump the hit points up by that much.
I will put it on as an effect on the character.
oh wow, I rolled really well. Wait, so it's just 2d10.
Holy shit, I
no-
rolled really well too.
No
I
additions?
rolled a 2.
Ha!
I mean,
I rolled,
Yeah,
I
but
rolled
you're gonna
two-
get,
I,
like-
Aygir's like,
25.
this is disgusting. What is this?
I rolled. Yeah, I rolled two. I
I
rolled
can't-
two
Jesus,
eights.
did you
So
not season the chicken?
Nokki had a really good meal.
Micus?
I rolled a 10 and an 8.
Wow.
So we got the same.
Or maybe
Or
no,
almost.
yeah,
Or you got two
Walykos
more. You got
just
two more than me.
ate
Yeah.
more than their share, and then by the time you got
Yeah.
there was just like a mushroom left.
Walykos and Nokki.
Whoa.
Walykos and Nokki ate like everything.
Enjoy your advantage to wisdom save, sir, and your immunity to fear and
Wait,
frightened.
so I get advantage to wisdom save. I get immunity to fear
to
and
poison and
what-
fear.
and poison.
poison and fear, and then and 16 is just my max hit points now. I just add that.
Yep.
Yeah, basically it becomes. I'm trying to see. Here we go. Max hit point.
And I never lose this. I just have it forever now.
24
It lasts for
hours,
24 hours.
Okay.
which should last us hopefully
Yeah,
for
this
as long as
this
we're
is
here.
the meal you all eat literally the night before you, or maybe even the afternoon before you go on.
Yeah,
your,
and you all can have your
scouting.
role play during that at some point. I'm just trying to get the crunch done, and then we can do the role play.
That's really good for me
Do,
because
do
like
any of the
16,
NPCs partake of this feast?
yeah, 16 extra hit points for me.
12 people can
like
take
32.
12 partake, so-
people. Okay.
So even the NPCs can partake.
Should I roll for Varric then?
All right. So everyone roll for your NPC as well.
Is two
Oh, yeah.
D10s, and there's no.
I guess
additions to it, right?
Avacera
It's just-
might as well.
It's just
Just
two
2d10.
D10s, right?
Yeah, just
Okay.
2d10.
2d10. Avacera
All right.
gets.
Varric rolled
11.
significantly worse. He got 6.
160.
Corgain has 9.
Cool.
Wow, Walykos, you and me rolled very well for our characters.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the main
was
thing
full.
isn't the temporary hit. The main thing isn't the hit points. They are really good, but the spell. The reason why I think it's going to be important is the advantage on wisdom saves is huge.
Wait,
We're gonna have
quick,
so
quick,
many wisdom saves.
wait, quick question. So, is this temporary hit points or temporary
It's
max?
not. This
hit
is an
points?
increase
It's
to your maximum hit points
Maximum
for
hit
24
points,
hours.
and
So-
you get
okay.
those hit. So
Okay, temporary maximum. Cool.
temporary hit points will stack on top of these, no issue,
Yep, that's what.
and
That's
you
why I was
can-
asking. Yeah.
and you can actually heal these back when
Yeah.
you're doing
Yeah,
short
it is,
rest.
it is
whatever.
your hit point maximum
Yep.
brought up for 24 hours.
I was just making sure. My
That's
character sheet, I have like a
pretty
spot for
good.
temp hit points and for max temp hit points,
Alright.
so I wanted to make sure I put it in the right
Yes.
spot.
Let's hand out some aid spells.
Yeah, now figure
so,
out who's getting what level of aid spell.
Yep. So that was a 6th level spell. So she has a 7th level spell slot, which would be from the day before.
All right, so that'll be 35,
35
hit point max increase to
Vapor.
Nokki, and
Wait,
Varric.
That's the last one.
35? Wait, I get 35
35
more?
Yeah, your max
Yes.
hit points is going up by another 35.
By another
is-
35.
This is
Holy
what a
shit.
high level, like a 14th level spellcaster can do the day before.
Well, I just got 51 max hit points, which for me is like 102.
Yep.
Yep.
You are going to be needing every one of those, and I want you to show off Nokki's durability to take the punishment when we get there. That being said, Vapor, those 35 plus whatever you rolled, hopefully that keeps you alive as well.
Yeah, that puts me literally to a total of 120 hit points. I'm fine.
Perfect. You're not going to get power word killed.
Yeah, yeah. I'm safe from the power word kill spell,
Okay.
but that's about
Not that
it.
I suggest giving Varric the other 35.
Sure.
He
I
rolled
agree.
low on the Hero's Feast, and he's a frontline sword fighter.
I say, Varric, Albacera believes in you. You should, take this
So
blessing.
increase Varric's maximum by 35. And then
Now,
next will be
25.
25.
Yep, that's the 5th level spell
25.
slot.
All right, so
She has
Walykos
two
and
of
Aygir.
those. Yep.
I gotta go Walykos and Aygir.
Yep.
Main
Walykos and Aygir.
characters.
Yeah.
And then who else would get the 25?
These
Well,
are just temporary hit points,
Couldn't
right?
she cast another 5th level spell after this?
Correct. She can. She has 2 5th level slots.
Give me all the hit points. I will just stand there and take the damage.
I don't think you can benefit from 2 spells of the same.
Yeah, you
type.
can't have two of the same spell benefiting you.
Yeah.
By the way, quick question. That extra 36 that you mentioned, does that go to everyone, including Varric?
What?
Hmm?
36 what?
There's
35.
Nokki and
extra-
Varric got an additional
35.
35 max hit points.
Oh, it was Nokki. Okay, so I didn't
Yep.
know if it was
Yep.
Varric as
No,
well.
those are
So
3 people that
Walykos,
get that.
Aygir,
you're-
Arachno, Corgain, Avacera herself, and
One of the Celestials.
One of the Celestials. There we go.
Might as well.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so 25. Let me just add that to my 18, and then I gotta give Avacera. Yeah, so 43 extra hit points for just Walykos. Wow, that's so many.
Yeah, I have like.
Just to
right now-
lay it out, I had 91 hit points before. I have 134 now.
Yeah, I had 80 hit points before. I have 131 now. So.
Yeah.
it's pretty
I could
good.
have had
So,
10 more if I hadn't given it away to the NPC.
so for
That's
me, I
fine.
have like when I'm raging, assuming it's not magic, I basically have 262.
There's
That's
going to be a
why
lot
I
of
say
magic,
Totem is the best.
but here's the thing: we're getting to that point where all these high-level magics are playing. We're going to need every hit point. We're going to need every advantage on saving throws, immunity to poison and things like that.
Yep.
They're not going to necessarily counter these perfectly, but these extra hit points are universal. Like, even if they hit us with high-level Finger of Death, for example, those extra hit points could mean the difference between insta-dead and
It's true.
wow, that hurt a lot.
Yep.
Okay, cool. That is all my prep. Like, I'm ready, I think, Esper-wise, to
Cool.
move
So
forward.
I think a good way to wrap up this session would be
Yeah.
you all
Oh.
doing something in
Sorry.
like the night before or day before in Barnacle before
I
you fly out.
spoke
to this.
too soon. There's one last thing that I didn't mention. Death Wards. 4th level spell slots.
Death
She has
Ward.
3 4th level spell slots. They also last for 8 hours. So she could cast 3 of those the night before, and then she'll still have them on the day of if we really want them.
All right, so you all will be. Well, they last
Three-
for eight,
three
they
of
last
us.
For, they last for 8 hours.
So does Aid, though. So does Aid. So
Uh-huh.
these will last the whole duration of Aid. I think that they're worth putting because they cost nothing the day before to cast this, just like Aid.
Okay, yeah, but then
If you-
then she takes a long rest, and that takes up 8
Correct.
hours.
No. I've shown you how to do. Oh, I have to go back over rest casting again with you. All right. So rest casting. Spend 6 of those hours sleeping, and then 2 of those hours can be spent doing anything
Hmm.
light activity, such as reading, talking, eating, or standing watch. If the rest is interrupted by period of strenuous activity, at least 1 hour walking, fighting, casting spells,
Right.
or similar adventuring activity. This
Right.
is not 1 hour of casting spells.
Mm-hmm.
These are cast in the last 2 hours after she wakes up, before we get up.
You're saying she casts it right before she goes to sleep.
The 2 hours don't have to be before we go to sleep. They can be after we wake up from sleeping, and we're spending 2 hours just lightly doing stuff. She casts it right before we begin adventuring.
You'll essentially have 2 hours of the aid and the death ward.
No, that's not how that works. We have the full 8 hours.
When does she cast the spell?
Right before we finish long resting. So 6 hours of sleep, 2 hours of light activity. The 2 hours on the end of the long rest. We cast the spell, we uses the spell slots during the last 2 hours, right before long resting completes, and all spell slots come back.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
That's how rest casting works. That's how the aid, basically, she doesn't have to spend those. This has come up by Jeremy Crawford and in Sage Advice. I sent you the link to the article. It is tech, not really like cheese, in my opinion. But I did it because you said it was okay.
Okay. So you all will get the spells right before the long rest finishes. So you'll have
8 hours.
7 hours and 59 minutes or whatever.
Sure. I mean, let's assume it's 7 hours. Yes, that's fine. But 7 hours from the minute we begin, are going into...
I have to say, I've never seen that done before. I was always under the impression that you have to be asleep, and then that's what gives you your temporary
Page
hit points
186 of the Player's Handbook. A lot of people don't use rest casting because they don't know about it. But...
It's sleep or light activity. It's kind of vague, but it's not purely just sleep or elven trance or whatever.
I knew that you sleep. The sleep is a minimum of 6 hours, and then the rest of the time can be a light activity, reading or cooking or whatever.
But yeah, so here's the reason why they included that clause. Fighting for less than an hour, let's say you wake up in the middle of the night and you have to fight because you're ambushed, you can still go back to sleep and get your long rest, so long as that fighting didn't last for a whole hour. Same thing about casting spells. You wake up, you use your spell slots. Are they used up for the next day? No, because they're still from the day before. When you complete the long rest, everything resets. So it has a logic to it. I understand it's not what most people think of doing. So
I have not heard of that, but I can see how it works, because the average human being in the real world needs a minimum 6 hours to truly function. So I see how that works.
And then the next day, you're just tinkering.
I feel my spell slots coming back to me. They're about to come back. Quick, cast! Okay, now they're back.
I mean...
Yeah, and I can kind of see how it seems a little cheesy, but at the same time, it makes sense. It does make sense, but there is that level where it does...
I am using the game rules to my advantage. Yeah. I am not ashamed of it.
Yep. You are doing the right thing.
The death ward will go upon
3 people, so she can only do it to 3 people. And so here's the thing: death ward may never come into effect. Also, you could stack death ward technically, because each instance of it just overrides the last one, but their durations all count. It's just a thing that death ward can do. But I think we should split it up among 3 people. That being said, Vapor should definitely get one of them, because he can regenerate hit points, and there's
just to make sure everyone's on the same page. Death Ward is a spell where if you would drop to 0 hit points, you instead drop to 1 and the spell ends. Or if a death effect would instantly kill you, you stay alive and the spell ends.
Yep, and I could see there being death effects or Finger of Death, disintegrates. We don't want to just be instantly dead.
Okay, so Death Ward is going to be upon Vapor and...
Vapor, myself. Officer would have an interest in... keeping me
I would-
alive. Sorry to be self-interested.
Yeah, I
Walykos?
would probably advocate for Aygir getting one since he
Yeah.
received by far the least temporary hit points, and I think he's the squishiest
Okay.
now.
No, you get
Aygir.
nothing, Aygir. You get nothing.
Now, these are the before day death wards. She could also, the day of, do more death wards if we need them, as needed. Takes an action and a 4th level spell slot.
I would hold on to those until
Yes.
we're sure, because maybe it turns out we're not going to need them, and those 4th level
Correct.
could be used for healing magic or something else.
Right,
I
which is why,
completely agree.
if there's one
I'm
available,
keep-
I think Aygir should ideally get one. There are
Well,
3
no,
or
this-
4.
There are 3
Three.
that don't
Vapor,
cost any
Vapor,
spell slots.
Walykos, and Aygir have Death Ward.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
That's the takeaway there.
Sorry again. You give me a high level caster, Esper. I'm gonna take full advantage of her.
That's what she's there for.
One of the things, if they had downtime, Vapor would be looking into how he could disrupt the planes using elemental magic to summon his grandfather. What
Okay,
would
you
be
have 2
required to do?
days.
Yeah. And he would spend his 2 days doing that.
Mhm.
Even though the living storm god told him not to do it, Vapor's still going
Break
to
the
look into
rules. Fuck the rules.
Still going to
Vapor's-
look into it just so he knows.
When have you ever followed what people told you, Vapor? Like every step of this campaign, you've
Vapor is
gone and sold the dagger.
Fuck
You broke
you
the
all.
dagger.
I'm doing what I want.
Yeah.
So he's doing what he wants because he knows they're going into a situation where they could all end up dead.
Yeah.
Why not have one last ace in the hole?
Yeah. Sure.
So he would spend every minute he can looking into this, trying to figure out how he could pull it off.
What is Vapor doing specifically?
He is going to magic users, looking through arcane libraries, getting any and all access to information that would give him the knowledge of what would be required to disrupt the elemental balance on this plane in a localized area, to the point that it would summon his grandfather.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you say summon, what do you
Well,
mean by
because
summon?
he knows, not specifically summon him, but would require his grandfather to be able to leave his palace
Mm-hmm.
to come and fix the issue.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So, give me one location that you would go to first. What would be your top priority?
Let's see. Leave. Hold on, I gotta check names, make sure I have all the. I think he would talk with Crispin Hollows. Would be one of the people he would talk to, see if he would have knowledge on it.
Crispin Hollows
it's
is
Crispin
quite
Hollows.
Tower Wizard of House Mantevale.
Yeah.
He is quite willing and at your disposal to speak. Yes, come in, Vapor. I've been quite on edge with all of these preparations and the thought of what is to come. How can I help you?
Well, fortunately, I'm going to have to add more to that pile. While we were out looking for information and stuff we could use, we met with my grandfather, and he didn't say it, but came to me. He's hoping that I would disrupt the elemental balances on this plane so he could leave his palace to come and fix it. I'm pretty sure if he were to come and do that while we're in the middle of battle of Baal Vondor, he would aid us. I want to know how to do that.
Well, I mean, doesn't your magic already disrupt or otherwise agitate the balance of elements? You want something?
I don't think to the point where it
something
would
more?
require him to come out to fix it. Unless I'm
I don't know to what extreme you're referring, but at a certain point, that would cause such a destabilization of the very fabric of the material plane that it would be of great hazard. That's why perhaps your grandfather would need to come, because of the danger involved.
Exactly. I want to know where that point is at, and if I can't get to it.
Like a point upon Haven Isle where it would be more susceptible?
No, I want to be able to create it around myself.
Well, I cannot in good sound mind recommend such a thing, just on principle alone, Vapor.
No, I understand that. I'm wondering if you know at what level of me casting spells, at what point I would possibly cause this issue to happen.
Oh, well.
I'm not asking you to help me create this. I wondered if you know.
I don't rightly know. I've seen you, over-channel your sorcery, and I have seen the moments where surges of chaos magic come through you. Was that not already close to the effect that you are now wanting to achieve?
Perhaps that is. So perhaps over-channeling it and then letting it run wild will be enough to trigger it.
Vapor, are you sure this is necessary? I mean, what if you destroy yourself?
Let me ask you this. Would you be willing to offer up your life to guarantee Belvander's death? I'm not asking you to do it. I'm just asking, theoretically, would you, if you had that chance?
I like to think that I would give my life to defeat Belvander.
And I would as well. If this means I sacrifice myself to end his threat, end him permanently, then I will.
Well, you are a great sorcerer, Vapor. Do you not think that you already have that ability, combined with the strength of your comrades?
I do. But it never hurts to have one last ace in the hole.
Well, it could hurt a great deal if you exploded into smithereens.
True.
Imagine if you tore open some sort of rift and elemental chaos came spilling into our city, or even our entire nation.
I wouldn't do it here in the city. I would do it in Belvander's lair.
I wouldn't drop the nuke here. I'd drop it somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. Vapor's not going to drop a nuke in the city. He's not that dumb. He's reckless, but he's not stupid.
And thus ends the campaign, where we blew up Belvander and ourselves because Vapor went nuclear.
Oh my!
Sorry, I just.
Vapor
Oh,
creates-
that would be a
Vapor
great way to end a
tears
campaign,
open
though.
a rift in the material plane, and a singularity of pure elemental power
And
erupts within Voddenhold, and just like
Vapor's grandfather pops in and is like, "Oh shit, fuck this, I'm out."
the next
and Vapor
campaign
rides
is
it all the
like-
way down, waving a cowboy hat above his head.
The next campaign is,
Oh, man.
stopping the elemental
Mental
legions
rift
that are
from
spilling out of
consuming the
this
world.
giant crater where
Vapor,
strong
you were the bad guy all along.
Turns out that's where the Balai
You
came
created the
from.
world wound.
That
So-
would be fun to play Vapor as the bad guy in the next campaign.
When asked for the clarification with the summoning bit, that is true. It would be more like your grandfather would no longer be bound to the palace. So he would be able to, whatever, fly there. But that
Yeah.
would, that still would take him the time of him flying.
Yeah, I know it wouldn't be instantaneous, but I'm thinking if we're going down, might as well throw a bigger wrench in Vonder's plan. This is like that last This is pressing the button, hitting the dead man switch on the nuke. If we can't have keep the city, no one can keep it. If we can't take you down, well, you can't keep your fortress.
So, I don't know how I could give you advice, for the power you wield is vastly different than what I practice. But if I were to hypothesize, this is strictly hypothetically speaking, it seems to me that you already ventured close to the edge of this effect that you're speaking of when you voluntarily overchanneled your sorceress power, and that crystal shard otherworldly relic seems to amplify that effect, or that may be the necessary component to push past that limit into a I don't know what would happen. A rift? A tear? A portal? A scrambling?
Well, if I do it and survive,
It is
I'll let
entirely
you know.
unnatural, to a degree which I could not ever in sound mind recommend.
I agree. I would not recommend it either. And if I do pull it off, because I had to, and miraculously survive, I'll let you know the outcome of it.
Well, I would be curious to hear, strictly from a scholarly standpoint. Though, please give me your word that you are not going to attempt such a feat within Barnacle, or even anywhere near.
I will never think of doing it in Barnacle, even as a last resort. I wouldn't.
The
do
last
it here.
thing we need, while we're already under duress of the armada of Grootvadas to one side, is to have some sort of tempest leviathans breaking through from the elemental chaos into our domain here.
No, as I said, I would do it in Belvondor's lair, if anywhere.
Well, I hope it doesn't come to that.
Neither do I, but as I said, worst comes to worst, I want one last F you to him.
I do not speak Genasi jive.
Screw him over one last time before I die.
I see. Well, put the screws into him, yes, into his heart.
Yes. Well, thank you for your insight on what I was looking into, and well, I'm pretty sure
I don't
won't
know how
find-
much I was able to help you.
Well, you pushed. I believe you pointed me in the right direction for me to figure this out the rest of the way.
Would you care for a cup of tea?
Certainly.
So he's gonna brew up some tea and try to calm his jitters.
Yeah, I figure. Vapor's talking about going nuclear. He's probably on edge.
What would Nokki do on the, let's say, the eve before setting out to assault Von Holt?
Actually, yeah, I did have something, because Walykos and I, we had talked a little bit about like backstory. I mean, everyone knows, but I think Nokki probably trusts Wally. He'd actually probably write a letter for like his daughter, just in case he doesn't return from this adventure, I guess you could say. It'd be some letter like I mean, he's not the best orator or writer, but it'd be simple, but something like, I love you. I know you might not necessarily agree with what I've done. Perhaps maybe you wanted me to stay with you, but I feel like what I'm doing is what's right and what needs to be done. But if you don't see me again, then I hope this letter like finds you well. And I would, in the letter, it'd be sort of like a will as well, giving any of my items or money or gold to be sent to her And I would go to Walykos sort of after writing it. And I would let the other members of the Vanguard know as well, because Walykos might die as well.
Yeah.
And I would say, Walykos, and I wouldn't tell him exactly what's in it, but if I were not to return to this battle, please, you or one of the other vanguards, please, and I'll hand you the letter. Make sure this finds its way to my daughter.
I actually, you bring up a good point. I have a letter or two myself to write, but I think we should leave these here in the care of, shall we say, I'm trying to remember his name, Duncan?
Yeah.
Duncan Manteville,
Yeah.
Master of Rituals.
Yeah, that'd be a good one to do.
I think we should write a bunch of letters, tell him only to open them and, send them if we don't return from our mission.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll become clear if we're not going to return. I mean, odds are we'll be back. Travel there takes a couple days maybe or something, and back takes a few. So, like, if they haven't heard from us in, like, coming on
A while,
2 weeks,
yeah.
like, odds are we're not coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And if none of us make it back, that would be the worst case scenario.
Oh,
But,
absolutely.
yeah. Whoever, does this. So, that being said, I completely agree. You writing a letter makes sense. Walykos would like to write a letter too to Adriel is one of them. Wants to write a letter to, never really found out what happened to his parents, but I think he'd write a letter to Adriel's parents, I'm trying to think who else. Not really anyone coming to mind at this moment. So, I mean, the White Raven will know what's happening.
Are we all writing letters of some kind to someone?
If you would like to, just
Yeah,
go
it's
ahead.
up to you guys. Yeah,
I'm not gonna say what's in my letter to Adriel. That will be a if we die, or maybe if I die, I know Esper will have an outro scene at the end of the campaign. Maybe the letter will get delivered, and we can, see what it writ then. If not, I'll tear it up later.
Yeah, Vapor's got 2 letters he would write as well if worse came to worse.
Aygir has one to his father, the Hobgoblin chief, and to the leader of the bugbearers in the Tangle. And you said Vapors were to who?
Fearbolgs.
One would go to his
Sorry, that's what I
Thank
meant.
you,
Yes.
Well, one would go to his parents, and the other one would go to Elowen's brother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the younger brother.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The one who is like wants to be the up jump warrior.
Yeah, and yeah, that one.
Bringing Elowen back into the camp. Yes.
Yeah, and it would be pretty much that one. I have no problem saying on stream, because what it would be is just advice to give him to like take it slow and.
Sorry, I just had one other name.
Yeah, it's just like advice if he really wants to become a knight. What to look for as a knight and how to act.
You all write out these letters and you entrust them to Duncan Manteville. Do not deliver unless your mission is such that you all do not return. Otherwise, you'll come back and you will not need to deliver these letters of like your last words and your wills to people.
I was trying to think about the halflings that died. I should send a letter. I don't know anyone in their family, so
you could send it to the
You had the
flotilla.
girlfriend,
They
but
had
like
it before
Adriel.
the girlfriend.
Adriel
Yeah.
ripped it up. Like he ripped up the picture or the painting.
Well, I just can't die now. I just have to get back, and we'll put things right there.
Yeah, the only way anyone's ever gonna find them is like if Walykos gets back.
And basically, yeah.
You have to go find the last halfling brother, Ryan.
Ryan, sit down. I need to tell you about your family and how they died.
So I
ending
suggest
credits.
we wrap up this session,
Yes.
fading out with you all writing these letters and like entrusting
Mhm.
them over to Duncan Mantevale. And the
Yeah.
next session is going to be you all basically having just finished this long rest and
rested.
gotten these blessings upon you.
Super bowered.
I'll probably have like Avasira do this big blessing,
I
and
assume
that's the
this
effect of
happens.
these aid spells and death ward
this-
spells.
And this would be after we've traveled too close to the site. Obviously, the night before we rest, these all happen. Because otherwise, they would fade before we traveled across the continent.
Yeah, but it was
So.
good to get the mechanics set up
Thank
in
you.
advance.
Thank you
Yeah.
for bearing with me, Esper. Yeah.
If nothing else, we needed a list of summons, ongoing effects, and a vague idea of who has what
I
spell.
have that list in the Discord. Just finishing it up.
Cool. So, pretty stoked then about this final dungeon to come. I'm not going to say anything else because anything risks being spoiler, but the excitement is very high. And best of luck to you all.
We're all gonna die.
No, we're not gonna die.
I look forward to it
The
as well.
possibilities
If
there,
it
I
came down,
guess.
that Vapor would sacrifice himself to go nuclear.
So we're all gonna die.
We're all gonna die. Yeah. I'll be
Once
honest.
you're all
I
safe
was
enough away.
I was playing with lots of ideas. It's just the timing is the issue, and I was like, what if we just take an army of celestial spirits? Like, could you imagine just a bunch of winged angels just shooting celestial radiant damage down on these orcs who are just like, what the hell is going on? Devastating their army because these celestial spirits last for a day or 30 days, and they just like fly overhead in these swiping, shooting ranged turrets.
We have time where it's such a factor, and we managed to somehow drive off the other giant army. We could take the army from Barnacle and from Plethoris and Angels and others, and just lead a whole siege.
Let's be honest. Let's see how this goes. If we, get driven off, like maybe we go in there and get our faces kicked in,
Right?
and we have to
survive.
run away, and then we survive. Esper might be like, "Well, he knows you're coming. Maybe you just want to take the army next time."
Yeah. Oh, that's a viable plan if it comes to it.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think it's worth seeing how this plays out, especially because there's so much build up. This is like the payoff for we've been playing for 2 years.
Yeah,
Almost
we've
3.
been doing for a
Yeah.
while.
Almost 3.
This campaign's been going for
Very
almost as
nearly
long
almost
as the
3.
last
I
one.
think it started in September of 20.
Yeah, we could look
Yep.
back.
Yes, it's coming up on 3 years, just right around the corner. All right, everyone. So until next time, thanks everybody who followed along. I hope you enjoyed seeing all of the usages of spells and tactics and planning and the role-playing bits that were sprinkled all throughout as well.
Use them in your campaign.
Super looking forward to the next session and getting into this giant stronghold. All right,
Same here.
until then, take care, everyone, and may your adventures be many.